down that boat!
Are you ready for a vegetarian slow cooker recipe so good your meat eating friends will ask to keep the leftovers? Well, just you wait. This Swedish meatballs recipe in the slow cooker went over so well at a Super Bowl party that my friend and his wife asked to keep the leftovers. I came up with this recipe because I was trying to get out of my comfort zone, get out of my circle. I normally go comfort food, I normally go Italian, Mexican, cheesy, carby, and this one's a little different. So it turned out fantastic and I'm excited to share it for you. Props to Let's Dish who came up with the original meaty recipe. I'll include that in the link if you want that one. Let's cook. Okay, we're going to start out with 2 cups of veggie broth. And I believe I've told you this before, but I do like the Better Than bouillon. It's much cheaper than buying individual boxes of veggie stock or veggie broth. Plus it lasts a really long time. You can see it's a pretty substantial jar. It only takes about a teaspoon for every cup of liquid. I tend to go a little overboard because I like the flavor, but you can do it however you want, or you can just, buy pre-made veggie stock. You'll notice it says add it to boiling water, but sometimes I'll just mix it with hot water and the bits will, flush out as I cook whatever I'm cooking, so it doesn't really end up mattering in the end anyway. So what we're going to do before we add this veggie stock is we're going to go ahead and take some cooking spray and we're going to lightly spray our slow cooker. And that just makes sure you're working on a really creamy recipe, so you don't want anything to stick. So after we do that, we're going to go ahead and add that veggie broth. And next thing we're going to add is 3 tablespoons of flour, just regular little flour, nothing fancy. And then to make sure that that sets up, we're going to go ahead and whisk that together. Make sure you get it off the sides. You want everything well mixed so that your sauce comes up nice and creamy and thick and delicious. Side note, I've never actually had traditional Swedish meatballs, so this is kind of funny that I'm making vegetarian Swedish meatballs. So now we're going to begin stirring in the other ingredients. So you're going to start with your cream of mushroom or cream of broccoli soup. I've made it with both. Both are delicious. I would not recommend doing cream of onion soup because in a minute here we're going to add onion soup flavoring. So that would be really overpowering if we added that as well. Go ahead with your condensed soup, just try to mix out the lumps. And it doesn't have to be too perfect. You can, as it cooks, stir it, and this will kind of settle itself out as it comes apart as it's cooking. So like I said, the next thing is going to be this onion soup mix, which I clearly didn't cut all the way across the top because it's not coming out that great. And there we go. So you're going to mix that in. So the next thing we're going to add is the meatballs. I am choosing the Aldi meatballs. For this whole package, you get about 30 of them, and I believe it was $4 or $5. I looked at some of the other brands that were available, and for those brands, you got way less. You'd have to buy 2 or 3 bags to make a whole recipe, and each bag was more than this whole bag. So I would definitely suggest the Aldi. If not, you can use Boca, Gardein, whatever's available. That'll work too. Just gonna mix this together, and this is gonna be your longest cooking set. We are, after this, we're gonna go ahead and set the timer for 4 hours. So go ahead and put the lid on this baby. I like this crock pot because it's super secure. You snap both sides and it works very nicely. And it also has a program function, plus it was super affordable. So I'll go ahead and include the link to this crock pot in the description. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and set this for 4 hours on low. So at this point our 4 hours are up and the meatballs are going to be very, very thick. So let's go ahead and just take this cover off. Ah, yeah, see how nice that looks as I steam up my camera? Oh, there we go, there we go. Okay, so at this point, what you're gonna do is you're gonna add 1.5 cups of egg noodles. And then because it's so thick and we want those noodles to cook up real well, we're gonna add about 2/3 cup of water. And that's really not going to detract from the flavor because there's already so much flavor in there that we put in with the flavored soup and the onion soup and all the different things that we put in there. So we're just going to stir that up. And at this point, we're going to let that go for 20 minutes more. So it's been 20 minutes and you can tell that these noodles are already starting to get pretty done. The last thing we're going to do to really like cream up this sauce is we are going to add a little bit of half and half. And then we're also going to add some Greek yogurt. This is 2/3 of a cup, which actually ends up being about the same as like a 5-ounce container, so that works out really well. So we're going to put this in and then we're going to let it go for a final 20 minutes still on low temperature. So we finished our final 20 minutes of these vegetarian Swedish meatballs, and we're going to go ahead and stir this up to make sure that creaminess is all evenly distributed in here. And our last final kind of steps is we're going to take and do as much parsley as you would like. I really don't like to tell people how much spice or herb to put in things because it's very personal. You know, I definitely put more than most people. I think parsley is one of those things you can kind of go a little nuts with. And then also just do as much salt and pepper as you would like to taste at this point. If you do want to make this recipe vegan, there are definitely options for that. So what I would suggest for making it vegan would be adding non-dairy yogurt instead of the Greek yogurt. And they do have Greek varieties of vegan yogurt. And you want to make sure that it's not flavored or sweetened because that'll really mess with your flavor profile. You can sub dairy-free coffee creamer for the half and half. And again, I've stressed, make sure it's unsweetened. It's really going to make it funky and weird if you put a sweetened, non-dairy or dairy product in here. You can sub plant-based milk as well as 4 ounces of dairy-free cream cheese for the cream soup. And then you can either do this over mashed potatoes instead of the egg noodles, or you can just sub some regular pasta. It might take a little bit longer to cook. I would just play it by ear on that one. You know, I was really, really happy with how these turned out. I actually have never had real Swedish meatballs, so I don't know what those taste like, but these turned out awesome. Please look at the link in the description to go to the blog and see the full nutrition and the full recipe.